this week is Deadpool 2, and I'm not going to lie, I was pretty nervous going into this movie because I love the first Deadpool. Who doesn't love the first Deadpool? But it was so unexpected, and, we hadn't seen an R-rated, filthy, funny, violent superhero film until that point, and it really kind of broke the mold in that sense, and I think that sort of unexpected nature of it is what catapulted it to the success it reached. It's a little bit of the Guardians of the Galaxy thing as well, where it's like, okay, well, you probably didn't know who the characters were, and so you really enjoyed it because you weren't expecting anything of them. And now we are sort of expecting a lot from Deadpool 2. So Ryan Reynolds is back as Wade Wilson, or Deadpool, and I adore Ryan Reynolds. I think he's fantastic. It feels like he was born to play this character. It also stars Josh Brolin as Cable, and this is one of those weird scenarios where I'm like, okay, Ryan Reynolds played Green Lantern, and yes, we know he's way better off as Deadpool. Josh Brolin, 3 weeks ago, was playing Thanos, or he filmed it a while ago, but 3 weeks ago, Avengers Infinity War came out, and he's Thanos, the bad guy. He's kind of the bad guy in this. So, and then it's, you've got movies, people like Chris Evans, who played Human Torch and Captain America. I'm like, are there really only like 5 or 6 actors who are just going to keep playing superhero parts for the rest of time? Whatever. We're still going to watch it, so it doesn't matter. That's the reason to keep casting him, is that we wouldn't stop watching it just because of that. Ryan Reynolds could probably play like another superhero at some point. We'd still watch it because we like him so much. But I hope he doesn't. I hope he sticks to Deadpool. Some of the original characters from the first one are back. Vanessa's back. Dopinder is back. Blind Al is back. Unfortunately, TJ Miller is back as Weasel, and I don't know how I feel about that. If you missed it, TJ Miller has been in the news for very negative reasons recently. He called in a bomb threat. Like he falsely called in a bomb threat. He's been accused of sexual assault stuff. And it's one of those moments where, unfortunately, I'm no longer able to separate the actor's real life from the character he's playing on screen. Ready Player One was the same for me. It was his voice. And I'm like, I really liked him before, but now I just struggle with, watching these performances because I'm like, oh, I don't want to support you, but I want to support the rest of this movie. Anyway, you're still going to see it. Negasonic Teenage Warhead's back, Colossus is back, and then this time we are joined by X-Force. So it's Domino and Vanisher and Zeitgeist and Bedlam and Shatterstar, and then my favorite, Peter. Peter's played by Rob Delaney, who is on the Amazon show Catastrophe, and he's just a regular guy who joins this team of superheroes. And it's in the trailers, and I was just like, this is going to be ridiculous and awful. No, it worked so well, and it's brief enough in the film. The whole film isn't about assembling this massive team, so it worked really well. So the main plot revolves around Deadpool meets this kid named Russell, who's played by Julian Dennison, and Julian Dennison comes to us from Hunt for the Wilder People, and if you haven't seen Hunt for the Wilder People, you need to go watch that right now. It comes from director Taika Waititi, who did Thor Ragnarok. See, it's all one big Hollywood circle? No, it's all big one Hollywood kind of, you see how these people get into these roles. So Cable comes back in time, because that's one of the powers Cable has, technology he has access to kill Russell, and Deadpool is going to try and stop it. And so he assembles X-Force, as I mentioned, to kind of deal with this threat. And that's the rest. I won't say any more, because I don't want there to be any spoilers, because that was my favorite part of the film. So the first third of the movie is trying too hard. It's self-referential, which is fine for a Deadpool movie. You want that in Deadpool, but it's too desperate to remind us how much we liked the first one, instead of just showing us why we like these characters in this sort of format. It's like, hey, don't you remember that thing we did? Wink, wink. You like that, right? As opposed to just being like, here is us. Enjoy us as we are. So by the middle third, it starts to calm down and really kind of get into that pattern of things that you enjoy in a Deadpool movie. There were a lot of great comic moments, both literally in the sense of comedic moments and also moments from the comic books or characters from the comic books that you're gonna be really excited for, which is, again, why I don't want to spoil anything past that. This is a movie that is burdened by the success of its own franchise, in that I don't think it lives up. I'm sorry. It's still very enjoyable, but I was comparing it to the first one, and that sense of joy and sort of surprise that I got from the first one. And this one I was like, okay, how are you going to be different? And because it is trying so hard to remind us how it's sort of the same in the beginning, it starts off on a rough foot, but by the end, I still laughed through the whole thing, was still grossed out. There's so many they did one up the gross game in this one. They really one upped the gross game. So you're going to see this movie if you like the first one. Nothing I say would stop you from it, and that's fine. But just know, hey, if you're feeling a little weird at the beginning, or apprehensive at the beginning, it gets better throughout the film. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. And yes, I know that's still a really good score, but Deadpool 1 was a 5 out of 5 for me. So it's one of those, okay, well, it's good, but it's not the first.